So, a very good afternoon to all. So, in the last lecture, we have discussed about the types of the transducers, so active and passive transducers, and we are discussing about the active transducers. And active transducers are classified as, again, based on major four types, that is electromagnetic effect, piezoelectric effect, photoelectric effect, and the thermal effect. Okay, thermoelectric effect. So in all these cases, so the final output is in terms of the electrical signals. Electrical signal. What is this? Okay. So in the last lecture, we have discussed about the electromagnetic induction, principle based transducers, and thermoelectric, piezoelectric also. So today we will see about the photoelectric effect transducers and also some of the passive transducers. So coming to the last one in the active transducers, the photoelectric effect. So in this case, whenever a light is falls on certain type of materials, the conductivity of that particular materials will be changes, and due to that, the potential will be changes. Suppose here there are two types of materials generally used as transducers for the photoelectric effect. So one is selenium and another one is silicon. Selenium and another one is the silicon. So selenium cell as a long been used to measure the intensity of light in photographic exposure meters or the light absorption of chemical solutions. So generally, whenever the light falls on a particular material, the light may be absorbs. So when the light falls on a particular material, so the light may be absorbed, some light may be transmitted, and some light may be reflected, or some may be refracted. So whenever the light falls on this selenium and silicon type of materials, that particular uh, intensity of the light will be converts into corresponding change of the potential. Okay, so that will be identified by using photoelectric effect. So the obtained output voltage is proportional to the intensity of the light which is focused on the which is falls on these materials. Okay, so the first one is silicon photoelectric cell. It is also known as the solar cell. So solar cell is manufactured or developed by using the silicon material, and it is having high efficiency than the selenium cell. So this is this figure shows the spectral sensitivity of the two cells, that is selenium and silicon. Okay, so here if you can observe the range of the frequency range. So this is the visible range. Selenium is used in the visible range, whereas silicon is used in the higher ranges. Okay, maybe radio RF ranges. Okay, whereas spectral sensitivity of silicon is peaks in the infrared region, while the selenium cell is most of the cases in the visible light range. It means those materials are sensitive for the light radiation in the frequency range of visible light. Okay, So when operated into a small load resistance, the current delivered by either cell is proportional to the intensity of the incident light. Hello? The voltages of these cells cannot be exceed a certain value, about 0.6 volts for the silicon cell. The light intensity of the load resistance is such that the output voltage approaches this value, it becomes non-linear. So generally, we can fix this particular cells into a circuit. Okay. So whenever the light falls on this material, its resistance will be changes. That resistance, by changing that resistance, okay, and we can identify the change in resistance by voltage. Okay, and coming to the next category of the transducers are passive transducers. Okay, so in the passive transducers, so these are works on the base principle of controlling the applied excitation voltage or an AC carrier signal. So we can control these external applied signals. Based upon that, we can identify the effect of the applied signal, effect of the physical variable. So we have to measure what the measuring signal is there. That measured signal will be measured by the effect of the applied signals. So the actual transducer consists of usually passive circuit element which changes its value as a function of the physical variable to be measured. Okay. So the transducer is a part of the circuit. So if we consider these transducers are part of the transducer is a part of the circuit. Okay. Generally in active transducers, transducers are separate from the this conversion or amplifying circuits. So after obtaining the signal, we will make amplification or some modifications. Whereas in passive transducers, the transducer is a part of the same part of circuit. So there are only three passive elements, and that can be used as passive transducers. So generally, we can use the resistors, capacitors, and inductors. These circuit elements are used as passive transducers because if there is any changes occurred in the circuit elements of resistor, capacitors, and inductors, that will be identified in terms of voltage or current. So that is possible by using these passive circuit elements. Generally, there are two types of elements: active elements and passive elements. Passive elements are resistors, capacitors, and inductors. Active elements are corresponds to these transistors and photodiodes. Diodes and transistors will comes under the active circuit elements. So based upon these passive circuit elements, these passive transistors are classified. So generally these passive transistors are not reversible operation is not possible when compared to active transistors. So classification of passive transistors. So passive transistors are classified as passive transistors using resistive elements, passive transistors using the inductive elements, and using capacitive elements, and also active circuit elements. So we can consider resistive element, inductive elements, and capacitive elements. That is nothing but resistor, capacitor, and inductors. And these properties will be used to identify the variation of the voltage or current that is resulted by the physical variable. Okay, so change of this current or voltage are caused by variation of the voltage or current are caused by the change of the physical variable. So the temperature may be changes depending upon when the temperature is increases, the materials, this resistance of the material may be changes. That change in resistance will be measured by using some voltage or current. Okay, so The first category we will consider it as a passive transducers using resistive elements. So here any resistive element that changes its resistance as a function of physical variable can be used as a transducer for that variable. So if you want to measure any physical variable, so due to that physical variable variations, the resistance of the resistive element will be changes. It can be used as a resistive transducers, and it can be considered as a passive transducer. So generally, uh, uh, a very simple passive transducer is a potentiometer. So ordinary potentiometer. So it can be used as a to convert rotary motion or displacement into a change of resistance. So if you consider it a potentiometer, here there are two types of potentiometers. One is the linear potentiometer and another is the angular potentiometer. Linear and angular potentiometers. So linear potentiometer is used to measure the linear displacement. Whereas the rotational displacement transducer is used to measure the angular displacement or rotational displacement. So if we consider this potentiometer, so here A and B and this is the C. So we will apply the voltage across A and B. We will apply the voltage across A and B. So and we will take the output across B and C. B and C. And this is C is a pointer. This pointer is connected to the device whose displacement is to be measured. Suppose we want to measure a linear displacement of any member or any particular mission. So how much displacement it is moving for a given period of time, or we want to measure the displacement of the motors. For the motors, we can use the angular displacement. So in some cases, the the pistons maybe moves forward and backward. So how much displacement it is moving? So such that such measurement or linear displacement of that pistons may be identified by using linear displacement transducers. So this C is connected to a displacement measuring whose displacement is to be measured. Okay. So when the displacement is applied, then this point will be moved, and according to that, the voltage drop across this particular resistance will be given as output. Okay. So you assume that initially this point is at this initial it is at this point. Then what happens? The entire voltage is appeared as output because the applied voltage is appears at these 2 points. If we measure the voltage across C and B, when the pointer is at initial stage, we will get 100% output voltage. Now we apply some displacement, then this point will move towards right side. Then depending upon the displacement, the position of this C point, this C contact will be changes, and the corresponding voltage drop across these two points, that is C and B, will be observed as output voltage. Okay. So similarly, we can find out the rotational displacement or angular displacement. So by using this rotational displacement transducer. So this is the resistive element. So this arrangement is nothing but a resistive element. So this resistive element will make wound on a um, wound on a membrane. Okay. So when the pointer will be moves over this wire or conductor wire, okay, or resistor wire. So we will apply the voltage across A and B. We will apply voltage across A and B, and we can measure the uh, output voltage between B and C. Okay, and this pointer will be connected to the rotary input. Suppose we want to measure the any rotating object angular displacement. So that rotating object is connected, its shaft is connected to this pointer. Okay, so when the rotating object is rotating, when the rotating object is rotating, this point will also changes its angular position, and we will take the output between C and B. Okay. So generally we will apply the voltage across A and B. So within the applied voltage, depending upon the position of this pointer, the remaining voltage across this resistor, that voltage drop will be considered as output. Okay. Suppose if we consider, we will get 100% of output voltage across A and B were applied. So whenever we will connect this pointer at A point, A position, so then we will get the 100% output voltage. That is, output is equals to input. Suppose this point is connected at half of this particular thing. So then we will get the half of the voltage. So 50% of voltage is obtained as output voltage. If it is connected at 45 degrees from this one, so this voltage, voltage across this particular resistance will be observed as output. So change in output voltage corresponds to change in displacement. Angle displacement is corresponds to change in resistance. Change in resistance will be identified by apply some input voltage. Okay, so like this we can measure the angular displacement. So the linear displacement and angular displacement, all these are based upon the resistive elements, resistive components. So variation of the resistance. So in some cases, there are some, in some cases, whenever the light will falls on the materials, its conductivity will be changes. So that is sensitive for the certain frequencies. Here we have a photoresistor cell. Photoresistor cells. So photoresistor cells, when the light falls on the material like cadmium sulfide, okay, cadmium sulfide, when the light falls on this material, its resistance will be changes. That change in resistance will be again identified by using voltage or current. And this photoresistor cell is sensitive, very sensitive, but has a limited frequency range. So operation of the limited frequency range is there, and it is having very sensitive. So having the limited frequency range is the one of the constraint. So considering the another one, photoelectric transducer. So it is nothing but a photodiode. So it replaces the charge carriers generated by incident radiation on a reverse bias junction diode. So generally you can use the photodiode is in the reverse bias operation. So when we connect in the reverse bias voltage, so when the light will falls on this diode, the current will be, or charge carriers are generated, and due to that the current will be induced. And this photodiode is less sensitive than photoresistor cell, but the operating range is very high when compared to the photoresistor cell. So that is the one of the advantage when compared to photoresistor cell. So this is photoresistor cell and photoelectric transducer, that is the photodiode. So photodiode can be also used as a photoelectric transducer without a bias voltage. So in such case, it operates as an active transducer, photodiode. Okay, and another one is a photoemissive cell. Photoemissive cell, that is the example of vacuum or gas filled, is only of historical interest. So nowadays these are not using anywhere, and it is generally been replaced by photoelectric transducers in the semiconductor type. So photoemissive cell is in olden days they will be used. So for these photoemissive cells, nothing but the photo multiplier tube. You may know this photo multiplier tube. So in that photo multiplier tube, we have some gas filled or some vacuum is created. So whenever the light falls on a cathode, some of the electrons will be emitted, and these electrons will be collected by diodes, and those diodes are having higher positive potential. And when the electrons are will fall on diodes, and these diodes again will produce the multiplication of the previous one by 2. It will produce 2 electrons, and again these 2 electrons will be struck by another diode. Again those 2 electrons will be converted into 4 electrons, and 4 electrons will become as 8. Like that, the electrons will be multiplied. Generation of electrons will be increases, multiplied, and finally we can get the current using these electrons. By that we can get the output current. Okay, that output current corresponds to the intensity of the light which is falls on the cathode of the photomultiplier. Okay, so these systems nowadays not using anywhere, but it is in the olden days they are using. So most transistors used for the mechanical variables utilize the resistive element called the strain gauge. So the next very important passive transistor, which is based upon the change of the resistance, is considered as a strain gauge. Strain gauge. Okay. For this strain gauge, the input is mechanical variables. It may be for this strain gauge, the input is mechanical variables. It may be strain or it may be displacement. So by the application of the force on this particular strain gauges, it will be its resistance will be changes. So you may go to the market. So there is a weighing machine. So weighing machine, how it will be takes the weight of the given material. So it depends upon the given. There is a strain gauge is there inside. If you can observe, if you have any own weighing machine, you can observe the inside, downside you have a strain gauge is there. Okay, so when the weight or some force is applied on that platform, that weight will falls on this strain gauge. So then the strain gauge resistance will be changes. Similarly, you may observe on the highways weighing machines, weigh bridge. You may observe weigh bridge. So in the weigh bridge, we can use for the measuring the weight of a lorry. Okay, load of the lorry. Suppose in a particular cement industry or some, we have to measure the weight of a load. Okay, so how much load is present in the lorry? So how we can measure? So first of all, without any load, without any material in the lorry, okay, so we will place on this weigh bridge. Okay, we will place on the weigh bridge. So we will measure the weight of the lorry, Then again we will send this lorry to load the material, maybe cement or something, sand, something, anything. Okay, so again the lorry will come on this weigh bridge, and now we can consider the weight, measure the weight, and from that we can find out the how much load where this lorry is taking. Okay, so that we will see. So total load, I mean loaded lorry minus the without loading of the lorry. So that gives the total or net weight of the material which is carrying the lorry. Okay, this is the one case, and another one is the I want to discuss here, that is the in the weigh bridge on the four sides we can observe on the four sides we have strain gauges. Corners of this bridge or that platform where the lorry will be stays, on the four corners you can observe 4 strain gauges will be placed. Okay, so whenever the lorry will be comes on this bridge or platform, this weight of the lorry will be falls on this strain gauge. Okay, and when that weight will be converted into the force or strain on this strain gauge, and that strain will be converted into the corresponding electrical signals. And similarly, we can observe weighing mission. So weight checking, for your weight checking. So in the weight checking machine also we can observe one strain gauge. Okay, so those that is not visible to us, but there is a strain gauge will be used. So like this, we have a number of applications of the strain gauge for measurement of the weight. Okay, so how it will be converts the weight or some strain into corresponding electrical signals. So that we will see. So the principle of the strain gauge is easy to understand with the help of the figure that we consider a cylindrical conductor. A cylindrical conductor. Okay. So whenever a force is applied, okay, or stretching is done on the axial force. Suppose we are applying some axial strain. So we are stretching this particular cylindrical conductor. Then what happens? Its length will be increases. Its length will be increases, and its area will be decreases. That is, cross-sectional area will be decreases. So when there is a stretching is applied, stretch is done for a cylindrical conductor. So there is a length will be increases and cross-sectional area will be decreases. So depending upon the amount of stretching. Okay, so whenever the length is changes, the resistance of a conductor will be changes. So based upon that, so a cylindrical resistor or conductor element is having length L and cross sectional area is A. If it is made of material having resistivity of this is R or rho ohms, its resistance, generally you know that resistance of a conductor or a wire, resistive wire is R is equals to rho L by A. Here this is the rho, or you can consider R, rho L by A ohms, resistance of a conductive wire or a resistive wire. Now we are applied some strain. Axial force is applied. By that what happens? The length of the conductor will be increases and the cross sectional area will be decreases. Okay, so that will be applied. So when the so either case, if the length increases or area decreases, anything will be happens, the resistance will be changes. The change in resistance will be measured by using a Wheatstone bridge. By using Wheatstone bridge. I think you may heard this one, Wheatstone bridge. So that Wheatstone bridge having 4 arms. I think you may know this. Okay. So between two terminals we will apply some voltage. This is called as excitation voltage. And other two terminals we will measure the variation of the current by using some meters. By using some meters. So here we will apply some voltage, V voltage, and we will connect any one arm. So generally fourth arm is connected as a measuring arm. So in the place of the fourth arm, we will place the resistive element. So whose strain is to be measured. Okay. So whenever there is a variation, or change of the resistance is occurred, that corresponding current will be reflected on the deflection meter. Okay, that particular variation of this point will indicate the how much current it will be produced, and that meter will be calibrated in terms of the applied strain. So like this, we can measure the variation of the resistance in terms of the strain. So like this we can measure. Okay, so there is one important factor, that is the gauge factor. gauge factor. So it is important one. It is the ratio of resulting resistance change delta R by R to the change in length delta L by L. So is called the gauge factor. So gauge factor is equals to delta R by R by delta L by L. So change in the resistance of the from the actual resistance with change of the length. So by changing the variation or change of the length, so there is a change of the resistance. So that will be related by using gauge factor. So generally the gauge factor of the metals is 2. Metals is 2. And semiconductors it is around 120. 120. So that's why for manufacturing of the strain gauges, semiconductor materials are generally used. Generally used semiconductor materials. So in this case, the gauge factor should be maximum. So the material which is producing for a small change of the length, there is a large variation of the resistance. Then we can get the higher gauge factor. So then we can easily measure. So for any type of the material which is having higher gauge factor is preferable. So if we consider this G is equal to delta L by R and delta L by L, if the delta L is very small, for the small value of the delta L, there is a large value of the delta R. That results gauge factor should be high. The gauge factor will be low, it means for a large change of the length, the delta R will be very small. So such type of the property material is not required. For application of the strain, the length of material should be for a small variation of or small change of the length also, we can identify the higher value of the change in resistance. That will result the gauge factor should be high, because in the denominator this value is small, in the numerator this value is very high. So that results higher value. So the gauge factors which are having higher gauge factor value is preferable for measuring of the strain. So strain gauges are used for measuring of the strain. So again, strain gauges are classified based upon the bonded strain gauges, metal strain gauges, metal and semiconductor strain gauges. Okay, so metal strain gauges are again classified into bonded and unbonded. Bonded and unbonded. Okay, bonded and unbonded strain gauges. So bonded strain gauges are attached to a membrane, attached to a, just like this is the a foil. Okay. So whenever the strain is applied on this particular foil type of the bonded strain gauge, its length will be changes. That change in length will be identified as by using a Wheatstone wedge. Wheatstone wedge. So this bonded strain gauge is this strain gauge or material will be fixed in a particular arrangement. Okay. So when the strain is applied on this, that effect will be false on the this wire. Okay. and this wire length will be changes. And another type of the unbonded type, this is bonded. We will fix, we will attach to a membrane. Okay, so fixed arrangement, the effect of the strain will be transferred to this material. And another type of the material, type of the straining gauges are unbonded straining gauges. So this we will see in the next class. So already it is less than 1 minute is there.